guests today pursued their dreams and were determined not to let age stand in their way.
Please meet Lydia Bragger, Gretchen Cryer, and Barbara Stinson. Lydia decided at the age of 69 it was time to become an activist for older people. 4 years ago, Gretchen began her own mail-order food company called The Extended Family. And Barbara went from counseling patients as a psychiatrist to baking cakes for brides and grooms.
Lydia, I want to speak to you first. And before I ask you my first question, I just want to say that I work a lot with a gentleman who's 99 years old named George Burns.
Oh, yes, I know.
And people ask him why he doesn't date women his age, and he says, because there aren't any around. Well, I'm going to tell him about you, Lydia. Lydia is, as Barbara said, 91. I want to know what happened to make you become an activist for older people.
Well, I think I was always an activist, but to come for older people, I joined the Gray Panthers. At least I met the Gray Panthers. Maggie Hume started the whole movement. She was in New York, and there was an interview done with her. And I read the interview in the New York Times one morning. It said 2 things are needed for the mental health of the elderly. One of them is social action, the other one is sex.
Yes.
And sex is wonderful till rigor mortis sets in, Maggie said. So I said, I've got to meet this woman. So I met Maggie, and I started the New York Gray Panthers in the city. That was 1972. I had been on television back in the 40s, so I knew how many people we were reaching. I watched television, and older people were being shown just in very negative ways then.
Stereotyped, right?
Stereotyped. And if they showed any affection toward each other, it was the brunt of a joke. And they used young people to, they made them up to look like old people in films. You know, they thought we couldn't think anymore. So anyway, I said something's got to be done. So I started a media watch, and I had 7 people work with me, some from the media, and we got after all of these people. And Carol Burnett was the first one, and she was great about accepting what we talked about. Then I went to Washington. I was invited. I had open house for all of the networks here. They opened their doors to me. I called, and I could always go and say, well, we've seen something we don't like. Let's talk it over. So I would go and talk it over. I was invited to go to Washington, make a presentation before the National Association of Broadcasters Code Board, their annual meeting, which I did. And in the TV code, the word age was inserted, where it said there should be sensitivity for programming for race, color, creed, religion, and they put the word age in there.
How wonderful.
So, but do you know now, I called up to complain about something I saw about 2 weeks ago that was horrendous. And they said that that code had been discontinued. So we've got to get out and fight for that now.
Oh, I'll join the fight.
All right.
Well, how did you become a radio talk show host?
Because about 20 years ago, I was asked for an interview at WBAI. After the interview, they asked me if I would like my own show. So that was 20 years ago. That's how I happened to become, and I love the show.
And what's your show about?
It's mostly geared to older people, to opportunities that they may have, to all kinds of things, for education and all that sort of thing, and then for health. And I have young people, because it's so important for young people and old people to get to know each other. Oh. This is what we need.
It's what is missing.
This is wonderful, you two working
What's missing
together.
in our society, I think. Lydia, I know Helen Hayes was a great friend of mine, and she lived to be well into her 90s, and she said the best part of aging is that people respect you just because you made it to that age. What do you think is the best part of aging and the worst part?
Well, I think you learn a lot of things. For instance, I hate to write notes to you know, I got a lot of invitation for one wedding. It was a great big wedding, and there were about 5 or 6 different things happening. And so I said, I'm going to telephone. So I called, and I said, at this age, I've decided that I can make choices about how I answer. So you can do these things, you know, and people forgive you. So that's one good thing.
What's one bad thing?
A bad thing, I think, is people not realizing that older people are valuable, that they have something to share, and to be treated, you know, as pushed aside. And I hate that, but you get used to it, but it's not...
Oh, it shouldn't happen in other cultures. I mean, the elderly are so revered and respected, and people know that they have all the wisdom.
Yes, yeah, but not here. I think in this country it's been worse than anywhere. Though I was in England, and they're having problems there too. So.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I notice about you is that you seem so independent. And I wonder, when you were married, were you this independent?
My dear, I ran away and got married, so I must have been independent. And we spent our first night under a canoe, and nobody knew that I was married.
In the water?
And we paddled the canoe, and I have memories of this canoe going over a waterfall to get to the beach where we were going to spend the night. So I was a little bit independent.
That's pretty independent.
You know, Lydia got her postmaster's degree at the age of 86. I just am so amazed.
At Hunter College, yeah.
That's
What is the
fantastic.
biggest misconception about getting older, would you say?
For me, or for the...
Well, for both.
Well, I think people think, I talk about positive aging. There's so many good things about getting old, and I like to zoom in on those, you know. But I think that people worry about getting old. There are a lot of things that happen to you, things wear out, you know. But you need to, as doctors ask me how I've kept in such good shape for so long, I said they keep away from doctors. So that's about what you have to do. You use your common sense, and you have some of it, you know. And I have 9 grandchildren, I have 16 great-grandchildren, and I have 3 great-great-grandchildren, and another one is on the way, so these are all my children.
Well, do you have any role models?
Yes, I do. I have a sister-in-law who's 101, just last week, and she's very active.
Well, you know, Lydia, I am a firm believer that sex should go on in your life as long as you live. And I want to ask you about your love life. Are you still married? Do you have boyfriends?
No, I am not married. I've had 2 marriages and 2 divorces. Decided I didn't need a husband.
She is independent.
I didn't need a husband. So I had a lot of lovely experiences because I traveled all over the world in my 70s. And so I have some people take me out to dinner, 2 different persons that take me out to dinner on occasion, and we have a nice, very nice, warm relationship. So
I think that's great, you know, because people think that you should, at a certain age, you mustn't do this, you mustn't do that. I think you should keep doing everything.
Everything
as long as everything's working.
No limits, really.
Use it. If you don't use it, you lose